Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about Chris Flisher, who was a astrologer. He was also a writer and an artist. Um, the thing is, he had passed away over a year ago, and sadly, I didn't find out about this till recently, and I wanted to do this video, as a tribute to eulogize Chris, and uh, talk about his chart and how it may have been connected with his astrology career and some other things connected with it, some transits, natal placements, and also, talking about those perhaps some natal placements and transits that might have been tied in with his passing. Now, Chris Flisher, he had died of brain cancer. I'm just checking this to make sure I got the date right. I'm saying this right. On February 3rd, 2022, he had died of brain cancer, sadly, and very late and belated. I apologize for this. I wanted to just offer my condolences and prayers to the close friends and family members of Chris, and rest in paradise now, Chris. I talk to Chris on occasion, whether it be, through comments on Facebook or through messaging on the internet. And Chris is a Aries Sun, Cancer Moon, and Virgo Ascendant. The Virgo Ascendant really stood out to me. He was someone that was very reticent, very self-effacing. Yeah, I remember one time when I had made a statement to Chris about some post, I believe it was on Twitter, and I had said, something, positive regarding him, and then he, basically he deferred to another person on there, and basically saying that this other person, she should be getting more of, the praise. And that basically, that statement, when he said that, epitomized who he was, his character. And he was somebody that was very humble and not one to boast about his achievements. So when I look at his chart, the sun, in Aries, makes an opposition to his Saturn. And it tells me maybe in a way he wasn't always cognizant of all the work that he actually did. He has Saturn in Libra, and he was an artist, and the Saturn can be the career of the individual in the chart. And I think it's interesting when I look at this. What I want to state as well is that, again, I want to go back to what I was stating before about not, I'm really surprised that he had passed, such a fairly good time ago, and that it was over a year ago when he passed away. And, I guess, sometimes we become engrossed in whatever we're doing. We're not always paying attention to other things that are around us. And I do apologize once again for not being aware of this sooner. And the only reason I found out is because there's a Facebook friend of mine that had made a post regarding missing Chris, and I happened to see it, and I was like, wow. I couldn't believe he had passed on. And what's eerie about his passing, though, to me, is there's two other people, okay? My father and someone named Courtney Heater. You may have heard of her, and my father had passed away due to Hodgkin's disease around, it was early February, but this was in 1974. Chris Flisher passed away. Look at this again and make sure I'm saying the date right. February 3rd, 2022, and I believe Courtney Heater, who had died what I believe was to a murder. She has Virgo rising as well, and my father had Virgo ascendant, and Courtney Heater died around, it was early February, I believe, but of a different year. Virgo, Virgo and Gemini seem to, on average, depart our lives a little bit quicker than the other zodiac signs. Virgo and Gemini are both ruled by Mercury, which is the wind, and sadly, we have people, Gemini and Virgo. People often, they may come and go. Like the wind in our lives, and sadly, Chris, he died at around 69 years old, which is not far from average age, but he still passed away before the average age, which is like 76, 77 for males, somewhere around there, I believe. But what I wanted to state is that I saw, as far as him, looking at his chart, and naturally he had certain indicators for astrological work, and the one thing that's fairly basic that stands out, he has Aquarius on the 6th house cusp, which can indicate work in astrology. He has the North Node in Aquarius at 29 degrees, so it shows that's where a lot of his future and destiny lied. And also having the North Node in Aquarius in the 6th house could indicate being directed toward developing the qualities of Aquarius, being considerate, unobtrusive, innovative, selfless, altruistic in the 6th house, doing so, incorporating those qualities in your work, in your daily routine. He also has Venus in Pisces in the 6th house. Now Venus in Pisces can indicate making money through the metaphysical, which can include astrology. He was, in being an artist, I wonder, because Venus has a connection with art. I don't know this, but I wonder if he had actually made depictions and of things associated with the metaphysical, including astrology, like astrology drawings and paintings. The thing too is, in Venus in his chart is a singleton planet, which gives it more significance. It takes on more emphasis. It's the only planet he has in a mutable sign in his chart, and it's in the 6th house of work. The thing about this is it opposes his ascendant, so I'm wondering if maybe this could have taken a little bit of a toll on him physically, though. That work, that money, making that money, that's connected, with Pisces being in the 6th house of work and employment. Now, another thing is that he had transit Neptune not far from his Venus at the time when he passed away. And what tells me is, even though, he died of brain cancer, but he may have very well been, and might have died in his sleep, because peacefully. Venus is about peace, Neptune is connected with sleep. And being in Pisces, Venus in Pisces can have mediumistic abilities, so it makes me wonder, did he maybe have some insight, that he was going to die soon when this actually happened? And talking about, in this chart, what I wanted to state, I thought one thing that stood out to me when I look at this is that, well, he has, preponderance of major astrological energy in cardinal signs, which shows that he was likely in a hurry to do things and get things initiated and started. He may have been involved, had a lot of activity going on in his life, and really maybe even doing certain things practically simultaneously, maybe not finishing everything, but he was definitely, the chart, looking at it, strikes me as someone that did initiate, a lot of things, and I believe he did accomplish a lot too, because again, the Sun in Aries making the opposition to Saturn and Libra tells me that he may not have always really truly understood and been cognizant of the work that he actually did. And Saturn and Libra again could indicate a career in art, and he was an artist. The Sun is interesting because it's a strong contrast to his moon sign, which was which was Cancer. And they're both in cardinal signs, and they square each other. And the sun square the moon sometimes can indicate stormy, turbulent relationships with others. But what I wanted to really say, though, what I think what's interesting in the contrast of his sun and the moon is that the moon in Cancer, the emotional needs can be connected with reminiscing history and the past in general. And then you have the sun in Aries, which the basic character, the fundamental character, which is more about making their own history, being pioneering, adventures. Moon in Cancer can have tendency to be introverted and being more enamored with the home life. And you have the sun in Aries, which is more about just focus on doing things adventurous, pioneering, being more outgoing. And thing is, when I look at the chart as well, there's certain as far as him passing away, due to brain cancer, there are a number of indicators from this. I mean, he's got by itself. I mean, he's got Aries. I mean, the sun in Aries can have physical related issues with the brain. Aries rules the brain, and he also had Chiron was not far from his sun. The transit Chiron not being far from the sun at the time, and that could indicate physical related suffering. And also too, in his 8th house, he also has Mercury in Aries in it. Mercury is retrograde in Aries. Mercury is associated with the brain, and Aries again is connected with the brain. Jupiter is in Aries in the 8th house of death. Jupiter can have a connection with Cancer, and Aries is again associated with the brain. It's in the 8th house of death. Jupiter also makes an inconjunct aspect to his ascendant, so that can even reaffirm and reinforce physical related issues connected with that, with the Jupiter in Aries. And the thing is, he just when you look at this, I mean, it's sad that he did, that Chris did pass away. And I mean, I do feel, I'm despondent over, not just his passing, but the fact that I wasn't cognizant and aware of this sooner. And part of the reason, and I what I would state for me not knowing this, is I don't have an abundance of communications with people in the astrology community. I'm not saying it's all on everyone and not me. I think a lot of this is attributed to me having my comments disabled, and I think people just don't always have the incentive, impetus or what have you, to actually reach out and be able to communicate with me, because I'm not really giving people that inspiration to do that. And at the same time, I feel, I mean, I could have maybe tried to look at gone on Chris's page and actually stayed more in touch periodically with him, and I could have known this. At the same time, I mean, I talk about my comments being disabled. Maybe that's playing a role in not having this communication with the people out there. But I do, it's just and that definitely plays a role in things. But that being said, even during the time when I had my comments enabled, for whatever reason, there wasn't much communication with, like, say, a lot of the other YouTube astrologers out there or what have you, and it's just the way it's been. And I never was really much in the contact with those people. So but still, I could have done more to get this information sooner. Again, I do apologize for this tribute eulogy being very exceptionally belated regarding Chris's passing. And I mean, again, being a writer, the fact that he was a writer, an artist, astrologer, and I'm sure he was proficient at other things that just wasn't stated in that blog that I had saw regarding Chris's passing. And he had Chris had Gemini on the 10th house cusp, which can give the public image and reputation for being versatile and diversified. I'm sure he had innumerable talents and abilities and had, again, that reputation for that. The midheaven can indicate, the part of ourselves that is difficult to suppress, and which is not always bad, because those are good qualities as well. And with Chris, those qualities again could be about being diversified, versatile, loquacious, being able to talk about manifold subjects, having certain dexterity, manual dexterity, good communicative skills. And the thing about this too, and I noticed that he has a cardinal T-square in his chart, and he's got the moon, and he has the Uranus conjunction at the midpoint of it. What's interesting, in the 10th house, Uranus is connected with astrology, moon has a connection with the public, and being in the 10th house, it's not a shocker that he was somebody that had a career in astrology, and it was a very public one. Not just the fact that Uranus conjuncts the moon, but it's in the 10th house, and it's the sign associated with the public, being in Cancer. So in the 10th house is connected with the career and notoriety and recognition. So I mean, when I looked at a number of his placements in his chart, he was just somebody, to me, that was really born to do astrology. The Aquarius on the 6th house cusp. He has Mercury in the 8th house of the occult, which includes astrology and pioneering original Aries. Uranus in the 10th house. He has Mars in Scorpio in the 3rd house of writing and communication. Thought it was interesting too in his chart is that he has Mars in a tight inconjunct aspect with his Mercury in Aries. Now, when you have inconjuncts in astrology, it could often be about adjustments. It could be about too much or too little of something, and it can indicates to me there could either be too much energy or too little in his communications, too much drive, motivation, and energy, or too little in his writings and communications. And I think maybe it was too much, which is not such a bad thing. And it could be connected with the occult, which includes astrology, because not only is Mars in Scorpio, but he had Mercury in the 8th house. Mercury conjunct Jupiter could also be very fortuitous and prosperous for those writings as well. His Mars in Scorpio tells me that he has it in being in its dignity in Scorpio. It is, but the thing is, someone that was really capable of doing a lot, accomplishing a lot, doing things that may have daunted other people, that might have seemed insurmountable, that he was certainly capable of, and he has it in the 3rd house of of writing and communication. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.